Hello, people of grace. For our Pastoral Connect this week, we're looking at just three verses from Philippians chapter 3 and what they show us about mindset, inspiration, and personal growth. So, most of us would say we would like to grow, we would like to be a more free, a better version of ourselves, something closer to what God has created us and redeemed us to be by His grace. For us to do that, there's really three F's that we see in these verses. In verse 14, number one, we have to be forward thinking. Paul says, "This one thing I do, I press on to take hold of that." And that all of us who are mature, that have this growth mentality, that are progressing and are very serious about working out the redemption and salvation of our soul that God's put into us, that all of us who have that kind of maturity would take such a view of things. So we need to be forward thinking. And in the context of Philippians 3, what can stop us from that is loss. Loss gets us stuck in the present. We often shut down. And loss pulls us into backward thinking and thinking that our best days are behind us. And we get caught in memories of all that has been lost. And we have to work through that and process loss well and stay forward thinking. And then Paul says in verse 14 and moving into verse 15, now if at any point you think differently, if your attitude, if your mindset is different, well, God will make that clear to you. And this is really the turning point, is that really for us to become everything that God has for us, there's some part of that growth process that actually goes beyond us. God will make it clear to us. This is a word that really is where God reveals things like lifting the veil or lifting the curtain. And that's the turning point. That's the image that's associated with this Pastoral Connect, is the pulling back of the curtain to let you see something that left to yourself you would never see at all. And Paul is quite confident that God would do this for the Philippians, and I'm confident that God does this for all the children of light. The challenge becomes, will we step out in faith and courage and embrace that flash of insight, that lifting of the veil, that peek at what could be? And here in Philippians, Paul tells us the one condition that is necessary for us to take advantage of that flash of insight. We need to be forward thinking, but all of us get stuck at times, and we need that flash of insight so God can give us that little bit of clarity. But for us to even be able to move forward with that flash of insight, we have to be faithful with what we already have. Paul says, only let us live up to what we've already attained. And being faithful is grinding it out. Being faithful is doing the little things in your spiritual journey that might seem to be mundane or boring. Being faithful is showing up at church. Being faithful is continuing to pray. Being faithful is continuing to reach out to the people that are in your circle, or maybe even beyond your circle, whether you feel like it or not. And we're up and down on that. But for us to be free to move forward and to become that more beautiful version of ourselves that Christ has secured for us by His grace, we have to take advantage of those flashes of insight and the hope that they bring, that lifting of the veil. And to take advantage of that, we have to grind it out and be faithful. Most of us have a desire to be who God has created us to be, but are we faithful so that we can grasp those flashes of insight when God gives us to us and have the courage to step out and move forward? That is the best version of life we can have under the curse on this side of heaven. And it is the best version of life we can have because it is itself anchored in heaven. As I so often say, our best days are always in front of us because heaven is in front of us. So be forward thinking, have the courage to pursue those flashes of insight, and the foundation of that courage is grind it out and be faithful. All of us can be faithful, and that's an encouraging thought. Have a blessed day.